All right, for more on all this, Todd Buchholz, former White House Director of Economic Policy under George H.W. Bush and Tiger Hedge Fund Managing Director. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Let's talk, first of all, I like what Susan Lee was saying. That to put it in perspective is important because we have about $3 trillion a year in imports. That's about 15% of our overall economy. We're talking about $50 billion. That's how much the tariffs are costing right now. And again, we can argue, I would argue that it is being borne primarily by U.S. consumers, and that's the problem I have with it. But it's a pretty small part of the picture, isn't it?
Well, it's a small part of the picture overall, David. And by the way, it's good to be with you.
Thank you.
But when you look at certain regions of the country, the agricultural sector really is feeling a pinch here. Now, you could ask how many swing voters does President Xi have in Guangdong? And the answer is none, because they don't have democracy.
Right.
But how many swing voters are there in Iowa, Nebraska, Kentucky, places where people are worried about Chinese tariffs on bourbon, on soybeans, and on pork?
But I got to tell you, the other thing they
here.
don't have in China is a good economy right now. They have about a spending problem, which is 250% of GDP. That is, they're in debt 250% more than what their economy produces. They've got a serious problem. I think the Trump team thinks they're at an advantage because of the problems in China.
Well, I do think that the U.S. has by far the strongest economy in the world. President Trump is presiding over GDP growth at about 4%, record lows for unemployment. Consumer confidence, even among the poorest Americans, is up substantially compared to the Obama years. Nonetheless, there is risk here. Look, President Trump is the author of Art of the Deal, not the art of protracted daily WTO negotiations. So I can hope and expect that he wants to get a deal at the end of this. But my point, David, is there may be some pain, and that pain shows up at the polling booth.
Well, and it also shows up at the grocery store and a lot of other places. The Wall Street Journal had a very good piece today about the effects already on the U.S. economy because of these tariffs. And just start with washing machines. We saw the washing machine tariff come in 20% on all washing machines. Already the prices increased 17% as a result of that. So that's a cost directly borne by the consumer, right?
Well, that's right. They'll be wearing dirtier clothes, I presume, but also, because of cheap Chinese labor and cheap Chinese materials, lower income people can go to Walmart or elsewhere and buy winter coats that cost very little. Now, you could say, well, Americans ought to be making those coats, but there is a benefit for the availability of cheap clothing, especially for people at the lower end of the income.
And by the way, it's not only the consumer that bears the brunt of this, but Whirlpool, which makes washing machines, by the way, you would expect them to be doing well where they're not, because they're steel consumers. They consume a lot of steel and aluminum to make their products, and as a result, their stock is down 18% since the steel and aluminum tariffs went in. So they get a bonus in terms of protection for their washing machines, but in the end, they're poor because of the steel and aluminum tariffs.
Well, that's right. Look, the price of beer cans will likely go up. The price of automobiles can go up. So you're talking about NASCAR voters here who might decide that this trade war is not so good for them.
Yeah, again, it's not yet a trade war. $50 billion. I mean, it may grow into $450 billion. Let's hope it doesn't. But $50 billion is not really a trade war.
Well, it's not a trade war yet, and I think within the White House, Peter Navarro, whom I taught with at Harvard years ago, and Donald Trump think they're going to get a deal. I think that's probably the right way to bet. But, Donald Trump owns casinos. He's used to gambling. The average worker, the average consumer isn't necessarily wanting to go into a casino to decide how the economy is going to turn out.
Well, Todd, he's also used to making deals, and he's done a lot of those. So let's hope and pray that he gets a good one with China. Todd, thank you very much. Great to see you again, my friend.